Hey folks, this is John Miller, Executive Editor with WB News. We would like to welcome you to Ask the Experts, featuring John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. John is the founder, owner, and certified wealth strategist at Beacon Wealth Management. You can find out more at bwmwb.com. And now live from the studios of the Exponent Telegram in Clarksburg, West Virginia, let's Ask the Expert. Welcome to Ask the Expert with Beacon Wealth Management's John Halterman. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, John. Always glad to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're beginning a new year, and, one of the things we were talking about pre-show was, retirement situation and getting prepared. And you guys have an excellent tool, the Retirement Red Zone Assessment. Tell me all about that.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I think the biggest thing people have to be thinking about is that retirement's a big deal. If you don't get it right, you can't go back and do it over. Typically you only get one chance at retiring, or you end up having someone else to take care of you. And so in my mind, the easiest way to figure out is if you're on track or not is that if you're over the age of 50, okay, and especially critical for that person, you got to be able to think, okay, is my investments optimized for someone 50 and older? Because the one thing that's so different is when you're younger, when you're accumulating money, you're not taking any money out of it. You're putting money into it. And so if you lose money to like a year like 2008, you have time to make up. But when you're taking money out and you're trying to optimize or maximize the income you're taking, you're also trying to still have growth but not have extreme volatility, well, then you got to look at how should I be doing my investments different than what I would do others. Second thing you got to be thinking about is taxation. Because the one thing I know is that when you don't have any money, taxes don't impact you as much. But the more money you have, the more taxes are going to impact it. So you got to be thinking about your investment taxes. You got to be thinking about your income taxes, but also taxes at your death, because the rules have completely changed for that. And then the third thing you got to be thinking about is, okay, if something happens unexpectedly to my family, what type of financial loss is it going to have on me? And so that's what we do is we sit down and we assess your situation. We take a look and say, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? Let's look at everything you've done from a financial standpoint, and then let's identify any potential missed opportunities, because in fairness, you're not an expert. Or are there any obstacles that are in your way that you're just missing and didn't realize it that's preventing you? And then from there, after we do the assessment, we're going to sit down and give you the exact recommendations that we would give a client and say, okay, based on your scenario, this is how we can add value and get you closer to achieving your goals.
Again, when people sit down with you, I think that sometimes there's probably a hesitancy of people wanting to come and talk. But the important thing is that when it comes to wealth planning, to understanding this, you've got to turn to the expert. And John's always shared a wealth of information with us. Getting people to sit down and spend time talking about those situations that sometimes can be unpleasant. Yeah. But it takes that experience. I mean, what's your advice to someone who's just a little hesitant? How do they break through that?
Well, I think the first thing is they have to realize, don't let the word wealth, and wealth management intimidate you, because a lot of times people associate wealth with billionaires. But the reality of it is, I tell anybody, if you're a responsible saver, okay, someone who's made sacrifices, who's had to make smart choices, well, and you've saved money, and this is your retirement, then you got to make sure no matter what it is that you're getting the most out of it. And so what I would tell you is that if you're concerned about it, you're over the age of 50, don't worry about, am I rich? Am I not rich? Am I whatever? Just let's talk. Let's get together. Let's have a genuine conversation, because I always tell people, because sometimes people get a little nervous because they're like, I don't know if I know the words you're looking for. It's really not that way. It's really about just having a conversation, no different than you and I are having today. I'm going to ask some questions because I got to get to know them. My team's going to ask questions, but we also want them to ask questions. It's an interactive conversation. It's not us, going to be lecturing you or anything or interrogating you. It's really us building a relationship and making sure we get an understanding. And then once we get that understanding, then it makes it so much easier for us to make true recommendations, because everything we do is from a fiduciary standpoint. And so it has to be in your best interest, because if it's not, then it doesn't make sense to us.
And again, all of this is confidential. You'd be sitting down with a professional like yourself, having a conversation just like we're having today. And there's no, they're not locked in.
No, there's no obligation because, like I tell them, that first assessment, okay, because we don't even know your situation, we don't even know if we can be of help to you. Now, I will tell you that after we make recommendations, if you ever want to execute those and you want to become our client, we will be fully transparent on our fee structures and how all that type of stuff works. But until we even get to that point, to where we even know there's a need for us, it's just a conversation. It takes about an hour, and I always tell people, it's going to be a game changer for you because we're going to talk, we're going to learn, and if nothing else, you're either going to walk away with a second opinion to where you think, okay, you know what, I do need to make a few adjustments, or you're going to walk away thinking, you know what, I'm actually on pace. Because the one thing we'll do is if we believe that you're doing the right things, we're going to tell you that because we want you to feel confident in the things you're doing. We're not here to just be a disruptor. We want to make sure that whether you're doing it right, doing it wrong, or need some adjustments, that we're straightforward as could be with you.
We've talked about, new president, new administration, they're definitely focused on helping retire the national debt. And I know that's a concern that we've talked about amongst ourselves. Should people be concerned about Social Security? Should they be?
Absolutely. They should absolutely be concerned. I mean, one of the things that Congress has done for too long is they kicked the can down the road. I mean, there is no doubt about it. I mean, we have issues when it comes to national debt. We have issues when it comes to being able to fund these programs. That's one of the whole reasons why the DOGE thing is happening is because they know we have to be able to cut back on this budget. We have to be able to cut back on, the spending that we have and be able to increase growth because if not, we're at a point to where there could be no return. Now, we're not there yet. And what I will tell people is that it can be fixed. I mean, these programs are not entitlement programs. These are programs that you've paid into, but the government pays you this benefit. And so they have to have the money set aside. So I will say that, it is a worry, but we have time to fix it. The big thing is doing what you already did. And when I say this, I think that people have spoken very loud, very clear that they're just not going to put up with it anymore. And so I'm hoping that, with new administration, that things are exciting and they actually follow through with one of the things they said. Because obviously that's the next step. You got to follow through because if they don't, it means nothing.
Again, with so much going on in the world and so much going on in the financial world, so to speak, having an expert in your corner is vital. And John Halterman, Beacon Wealth Management, always joins us with some great information. John, to wrap up today's segment, what's your passing thought there?
Well, the passing thought's a new year. It's going to be a new year. So like anything, let's establish some intentions. Let's sit down and figure out exactly what you want to accomplish. Because the one thing we know is if you can't measure it, you don't know if you can achieve it. And so the best way to measure your finances is really doing an assessment because it makes it very crystal clear of where you want to go, where you're at, and the direction you need to take next.
Again, John, always a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. Thanks for joining us on Ask the Expert.
Thank you, John.